What's going on, good people, man? This is your boy Small Soldier right here, back in action once again. This time here, want to talk with you guys and ask the question, should Microsoft buy EA? What are you guys' thoughts on this right here? So with that, man, let's get started. So over the last few days or so, there's been some rumors going around that Microsoft is possibly thinking about purchasing EA, Valve, and the PUBG Corporation. Now, I have no earthly idea of the possibilities of these acquisitions actually happening. Hell, I ain't no damn analyst. I barely know my foot from my stomach, so I ain't really know much. But what I do know and what I would like to discuss is not whether or not this could happen, but rather, should it happen? Or more specifically, if you were Microsoft, would you actively seek to buy and purchase EA? Right off the bat, my answer is hell nah. No way, man, no way. But I'll tell you why in a second, right? But before we get into that, first we need to take a look at exactly how Microsoft got to this point where they would feel the need to purchase or acquire some of these studios. One reason is because in terms of first party studios, especially when compared with Sony, man, they far behind. I mean, Sony almost got more than double the studios that Microsoft got and a much more diverse studio portfolio. So that means that their output of quality titles and new IPs is greatly diminished. And speaking of new IPs, another reason I would like to add is because of failures with new IPs plus an over-reliance of pre-existing properties. Like there's always another Gears coming out, another Halo coming out, etc, etc. Man, that is get old after a while, especially if you can't mix it up with something new. And as we've seen over the last few years, the popularity for some of these titles have declined. So, however, to be fair to Microsoft, they did try, right? They did try a few different times, man. Like over the last 10 years or so, Microsoft has attempted to release a number of big budget AAA new IPs through various exclusive partnerships, but for whatever reason, man, they just didn't work out. I mean, we could look all the way back to games like Rise, Son of Rome, Quantum Break, Sunset Overdrive, and even further back to titles like Lost Odyssey. That's like 4 or 5 potential franchise starters that couldn't get out the gate, couldn't get out the block, and ain't going nowhere no time soon, man. And then on top of that, you combine that with a litany of major cancellations like Fable Legends, Scalebound, and I even remember reading somewhere where the developers of Fallout New Vegas, Obsidian Entertainment, was working on an exclusive game for Microsoft, and that got cancelled. So that's a lot of questionable management, wasted funds, resulting in them always having to rely on Gears and Halo and being unable to successfully launch and cultivate new IPs. Another thing I would like to add and point out too is the possibility of missed opportunities. Like I always look back and ask myself the question, what if Microsoft had bought BioWare instead of EA? Remember, around that time, most of BioWare games used to appear on Xbox and not PlayStation. So I always wondered how differently BioWare would have looked today if it had been acquired or purchased by Microsoft then, or how differently the perception towards Microsoft would have been today with the acquisitions of having Dragon Age, Mass Effect, possibly a KOTOR or a Jade Empire as exclusive franchises under their umbrella. And now, I think that kind of hurts them today, man. Nevertheless, right? Nevertheless, even with all that, no matter whatever the reason is, Xbox is lacking in first-party exclusive games and studios. Which is why, man, I'm not too sure buying EA would actually solve this problem. First off, EA would cost a hell of a lot of money, right? EA would be very expensive to acquire. And the thing is, man, a lot of EA money has come from licensed games or sports games rather. So would Microsoft be able to retain the license agreements for some of these properties while making them exclusives at the same time? That's doubtful. And then if they can't do that and they just got to keep everything multi-platform, I don't really see how that has helped the Xbox. Also, even though EA has a number of attractive dormant IPs like Dead Space, Skate, Command & Conquer, man, when you really sit down and think about it and look at it, man, they got some great franchises that they done gone jacked up, man. So that might be attractive and appealing to them, but then even if you go snatch all them up, you gotta start over. Because even though you might be getting the IPs, you ain't getting the studios or the original talent responsible for these IPs, because them jokers done dip out. You starting from scratch, and you might not be able to replicate the same magic that made those games special back in the day. So with all that money, all that investment, be worth acquiring EA? I don't really think so, man. If I had to acquire somebody, I probably would be more inclined to look elsewhere. For example, I would actually take Ubisoft over EA. Just because I wouldn't have to worry about all the license agreement nonsense with most of their top games. If it was me, you know, if I was in that position with all that money, man, rather than attempting to acquire older IPs, different personnel, etc., I would just develop more first-party studios and develop and cultivate that talent in-house, right? I know it would take longer. It's almost like a sports franchise, right? In that the philosophy between acquiring free agents versus building through the draft. There's pros and cons with both. And perhaps maybe a combination of two would be ideal. But overall, I would have to say no to buying EA. So folks, that is pretty much that, man. That completes this discussion video where we just talked about and asked the question, should Microsoft buy EA? Let me know what you guys' thoughts are in the comments below. As always, I appreciate the support. And with that there, fellas, man, I guess I will see you guys in the next video.